Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post this up to whenever, whenever, when I have time. So this video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. They are everywhere in the world. They have 40,000 therapists working for them. If you need a therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out a questionnaire, and they will place you with a master's level or PhD level therapist in your state or one that can do international. Okay, there it is. All right, current events for the day. All right. This is going to kind of lead into what we're talking about today, which is no fault divorce, no fault divorce, and why you should leave now. On TV, this is not in the news. There's tons of stuff we could talk about in the news, but this is something that happened to catch my attention this week. On TV and the movies, they misrepresent how divorce cases go. They also misrepresent what is allowed and what is not allowed in my profession. So that means counseling, that means social work, that means psychiatry, psychology, etc. So I just started watching this show. It's been out for a while. I think it's in its last season. It's called Evil. It's on Paramount Plus. I like it with a couple of caveats. So John, as you know, is a software engineer, and I am a counselor. And in the first season, because I'm only on the first season, there were so many ethical violations and so many technical mistakes. Hi. Like he's come to say hi. You can see his tail in the background. That I was just like, who is your advisor on this? Because they need to be bitch slapped. So basically there was a episode, it was really early on in the season, where the bad guy steals the counseling notes of the forensic psychologist who was also seeing her own counselor. And they acted like it was no big deal. They were like, oh, well, that's okay. I've got a lock on it now. And and I'm sitting here going, okay, first of all, pause. So I made him pause it. And I said, here's what would happen. First of all, she would have reported it to the police. Second of all, he would have reported it to the police. Third of all, he would have immediately gone to his board and told them what happened. Fourth of all, what the hell was he doing having his files out in the waiting room where the clients are waiting? Unlocked. You don't do that. That is simply not done. It has to be behind two locked doors. You cannot have files just willy-nilly sitting out. So, and apparently he took hard copy notes. And he goes, when she's like, well, how did he get my files? And he goes running over to his file cabinet and pulls it open, and, her file is empty. And I'm like, oh my God. And then fifth of all, I don't know where I am now. Fifth of all, she could own that university. She could own that guy. She would own New York City. I'm not kidding you. She would have a lawsuit on her hands that would be epic. As in, you could retire and not have to worry about money anymore, because that is a major malpractice lawsuit. Holy crap, in a bucket. These people, writers. Oh my God. So yeah, so that, and then they tried to use her notes in the court scene where the judge was like, well, she's our forensic psychologist, so we can read her notes in court. No, mother clucker, you can't. Where's my F-bomb? Where is it? Then drop it. What the F, guys? Writers, Hollywood, please call me. Just for the love of God and all that's holy, just do me a favor, call me, and I will set you straight, and we can figure out a really good plot twist using facts. I don't know. Here's an idea. So F-bomb for the writers. Boom. Anyway, so that and then of course, then they did a bunch of technical stuff with the Alexis and Google that John was like literally wanting to throw pillows at the television. And I'm like, yeah, I know. See what I mean? It's not just my profession they're slaughtering. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is when you watch shows about psychology, technology, if it's not a science show and they're doing stuff with divorces or, detective cases or whatever, you're getting a Hollywood view, which, believe me, is a funhouse mirror. Trust me on that one. So they're not presenting the facts. They're not presenting how things really are. Now, how does that roll into what we're going to be talking about today? So we're going to be talking about divorce. We're going to be talking about no fault versus fault divorces. And what makes people afraid of divorcing is the fear of their files falling into the hands of their abuser. That is a very real fear. Okay. But there's only certain conditions then that can happen. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Let me just finish my rant here with the writers. So it's other than that, it's a really well written show. It really got my attention. The rest of the story was really well done. The head villain is creepy AF. Oh my God. Who would have thought like a nebbish little guy could be so scary? Anyway, so it's a great show. I do recommend it, but please keep in mind when they're talking technical stuff, when they're talking psychology stuff, they get it wrong. They get it wrong. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Come on. Hollywood writers don't have access to a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist. Everybody's in therapy in Hollywood. Are you kidding me? So, yeah. Anyway, so take it with a grain of salt. Do not take television or movies as this is the way the profession is done, because it's not. And some of the other examples, there was a Kevin Costner movie I absolutely hated. He was a golf pro and he ended up having an affair with his therapist. And I'm just like, again, massive malpractice lawsuit. Hello. I mean, the guy in the evil thing would have lost his license, I'm pretty sure. Or if not, he would have been under supervision for a very long time. So I just can't even. So anyway, rolling that into talking about fault, no fault divorce cases. Okay. So here's the deal. Fault divorce cases are extremely hard to prove. And that is why there is a section of this country that wants to make all divorces fault divorce cases, because in a fault divorce case, you have to prove to the judge who gets to decide your fate whether or not you get to leave your abuser. Where's my other F-bomb? Hold, please. What the actual mother are they thinking? Some of these judges are narcissists. Right now, even today, it's hard enough to get a fair judgment if you have a narcissistic judge. I just had a case recently where the judge absolutely sided with the abuser. And I'm like, what the mother cluck is going on? It's because the judges, some of them, not all of them, but a large portion of them aren't narcissists, and they will side with the abuser. Now, if we get rid of no fault divorce, which is, let's explain what no fault divorce is. Hold on, let me just drop this F-bomb for those judges. Hey, narcissistic judges, boom. All right, so no fault divorce means you don't have to prove why the marriage should be divorced. You can simply check irreconcilable differences, irretrievable break of the marriage. You don't have to go into details. It's nobody's GD business what the F you are doing. Seriously. But in a fault divorce, you have to claim abuse, which you have to prove. You can't just say it. You have to have proof. How hard is it to get proof of an abuser? Unless there's physical proof, and they're sneaky. Okay. So emotional abuse, you have to prove it. Neglect, you have to prove it. Adultery, you have to prove it. Do you see where I'm going with this? This is why this is so dangerous to survivors of abuse, to people who are in abusive relationships, who are in marriages that need to be dissolved, because then it goes down to the judge. So hold, please, while I pull this up. Okay. There's several articles I pulled. Okay. This is from Legal Zoom. And this is just, all I did was say what states are at fault divorce states. So there are, let's see if I can find them, at fault divorce. Now, Arizona is weird. It's got a combination. So you can either do an at fault or a no fault. Usually the at fault is on religious grounds. So that's a covenant marriage, which is something I'm not even going to get into, but it's basically like you have to prove in order to be divorced for that, a covenant marriage. Okay, so the at-fault divorce states are Alabama, Alaska, Arizona is both, Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts. Oh my God. So it just goes on. Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota. Oh, it is South Dakota. And South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So the no-fault divorce states, the truly no-fault divorce states are, if I can find them. Okay, hold please while I look. Okay, the no-fault divorce states: Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Hawaii, Iowa, Kentucky, surprisingly enough, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Oregon, Tennessee. Oh, this says Tennessee is a no-fault divorce state, and Washington. So this one I got from World Population Overview. So there's that. So basically there's like, I think there's like 10 or 11 truly no-fault divorce states. And then the next question I get is, oh my God, you've got to be kidding. Can a judge deny a divorce and force marriage counseling? Yes, in a fault divorce state where you have to prove the dissolution of the marriage is absolutely necessary, the judge is the one who gets to decide. That should scare the living crap out of anyone in an abusive relationship. That means men too. So men who are in an abusive marriage and women who are in an abusive marriage have to prove why it needs to be divorced. Now, a judge who is a narcissist could come back in and be like, no, I think you guys just need to go to marriage counseling. Now, do judges have any sort of training in psychological stuff, especially domestic violence? That is a resounding no. And not just a no, but an F no. And not just an F no, but a holy, oh my God, F no. Do you see where I'm going with that? So they don't have any training. They don't know. And if they do, they're evil. So basically what it is that a judge who could be a narcissist, because what professions are narcissists attracted to? Oh, say it with me. Anyone with position of power. So judges, lawyers, police officers, psychologists, unfortunately, counselors, teachers, professors, anyone that's got a power differential. Narcissists are doctors. Hello. They are attracted to those professions. So, okay, back to this. So what the judge would do. So if you are in a fault state, okay, all right. In order for a judge to deny a divorce or force marriage counseling, it must be determined that the couple is able to reconcile their differences. Well, you're going to have a he said, she said situation. The abuser is going to say, well, of course we can reconcile. And of course, the abusee is going to be like, hell no. And the judge is the one who gets to make the final say. The judge will generally consider the length of the marriage. Okay, I've known people that were married for decades before they finally were able to get out. Length of marriage has nothing to do with it. But again, do these judges have psychological training? Do they understand narcissistic abuse? No. Are some of them narcissists themselves? Yes. Okay. The judge makes this determination based on okay. Sorry. Length of the marriage, how long the couple has been separated. Okay, let's talk about that for a brief moment. Now, there is legal separation and there is divorce. Legal separation is you separate all your finances and you live separately and do all of that. You don't have to live separately. You can stay in the same household, but be separated. Okay. So a legal separation, quite frankly, is a waste of money and time. If you're going to do it, just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. Okay. Because in a legal separation, they're doing all of the same stuff anyway that you would do with a divorce. And now you're going to have to do it all over again with a divorce. Do you see where I'm going with that? Now, again, please let me make clear. I am not a lawyer. I do not play one on TV, but I have two brain cells to rub together. And my dad was a lawyer. He was a divorce lawyer and he was a narcissist. So I know thereof of what I speak. So, and yes, I was his secretary in his office. So I got to see all the cases. So the point being is that a judge could come in and go, oh, well, I see you've only been separated for 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever. So no, I think you guys can work it out. Okay, this is why this is dangerous. Or, I need you guys to go to marriage counseling. Okay, here's the deal. If you are dealing with a narcissist, an abuser of any kind, okay, whether they've got, malignant narcissism, or whether they are malignantly borderline or malignantly anything personality disorder, okay, they will take whatever you say in session and use it against you. They will punish you for seeking help. They will punish you for bringing up their shortcomings. They will punish you for daring to question them. They don't, narcissists do not have anything up here except ego. There is literally nothing there but ego. Nada. Zip zero zilch, nada. Okay. And when you challenge them, they get enraged because they truly, truly believe they have never done a wrong thing in their entire life. How in the hell are you going to get an abuser to agree to give up their favorite punching bag? You're not. Let's be clear. This is why fault divorce is so effing where are my bombs? Where are they? This is why fault divorce is so dangerous to survivors of abuse. I'm not even kidding you. It makes me so mad. I just all of these words. So, okay. So basically, the abuser is going to use whatever you say against you. Okay. And they're going to play the victim, and they're going to go back to the judge and do the world's smallest violin. And they're going to be like, oh, poor me, I'm the victim. And I love them and I want to keep them. And oh yeah, you want to keep them because of your favorite punching bag, and you'd have to go find another one. So fault divorce is dangerous. Capital D, not just little d. This is like little t, big T. This is a big T, and this is a big D, big danger, big trauma. So this is dangerous for survivors of abuse. All right, hold on. Let me get back to this article so I can explain things a little bit more. At fault versus no fault divorce. While both these terms refer to divorce proceedings, the key difference at fault and no fault is the reason given for the dissolution of the marriage. In an at fault, you have to prove adultery, abandonment, cruelty, physical or emotional. How do you prove that? Imprisonment, false felony conviction, or desertion. As you can imagine, not every couple experience these specific circumstances. Some were simply unhappy in their marriage and had other reasons for wanting a divorce. Therefore, many couples had to fabricate scenarios to prove wrongdoing in order to meet the requirements grounds for divorce. So all of these people are like, oh, we want truth and we want this and we want that. Well, you have to make stuff up. I almost swore. Yeah, it's one of those topics. In order to get out of that marriage. Let me explain why. When did no fault divorce come about? In California in 1969. Ronald Reagan signed the first no fault state so that you didn't have to prove this list and you didn't have to lie about why you wanted to get divorced. Listen, sometimes not every divorce is acrimony. Not every divorce is nasty. Now, granted, those are few and far between. Generally, the ones that end up going to court are caused by abusers because they view the court as grand drama. It's the stage, and I get to tell everyone how horrible my ex is, and da 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 da. So of course they love, you know. Fault divorces because then they get to write this litany of what they think this person has done, or they get to play the victim because remember, covert narcissists play the victim, and they get to be like, but I don't want a divorce, and then they get to keep the victim with them, the target with them. It's dangerous. Capital D. It is going to, okay, here's some statistics on domestic violence. Approximately 23.5% of divorces cite domestic violence as a contributing factor. Now, in a no-fault state, you can say that, and you don't have to necessarily prove it. I mean, it's probably good if you do, but it's like, listen, there is domestic violence going on. There's cruelty, there's emotional cruelty, there's physical cruelty. There's, of course, notice they didn't say abuse. They didn't say abuse anywhere in there. Cruelty. Interesting. So, anyway, the point being is that it's dangerous, and you've got to not bury your head in the sand and not be like, oh, things will be okay. They'll never get rid of no fault divorce, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. There is a whole section of politicians out there that want to get rid of no fault divorce and have us go back to the good old days when marriages were harder to dissolve. Now, prior to marriages, well, when in California they dissolved the fault divorce, suicide rates of women went down by almost 20%. I just, so that's the thing. They're saying, oh, it's going to preserve the family. Oh, it's going to be this. Oh, it's going to be that. Well, no, let's talk about the psychological issues that happen when you're trapped in a marriage with an abuser. The abuser does not change. Leopards do not change their spots. They do not get better. They get worse with age, and they get worse with practice. They get way worse with practice. So now they've learned how to abuse, how not to get caught, how to do things without raising suspicion, and they know there's going to be no accountability. That is a very bad combination. So this is why protecting no fault divorce is insanely important to everyone, not just women. And this is the thing, I got a lot of trolls that were like, women. And no, this has to do with men too, because men get trapped in abusive relationships as well. And it would be just as hard for a man to get out of it as it would be a woman, depending on the judge. Again, if the judge is misogynistic, they may just side with the guy anyway, but you know what I'm saying? So, all right. So yes, a judge can deny the divorce. Okay. Okay, 1969, then Governor Ronald Reagan signed the first no-fault divorce law, alleviating some of the difficulties and deceptions surrounding filing for divorce, because the other divorces that would go on were simply kids that got married too young, they grew apart, but now because there is a fault divorce, they have to come up with some reason why, and it has to be a blame thing, which again, how is that any of the state's business? It's not. Okay, a no-fault divorce allows the couple to end the marriage without casting blame. When filing a divorce petition, the spouse does not have to give any reason for the divorce beyond stating that it was an irretrievable breakdown of the marriage and irreconcilable differences. And that really should be the only thing the state needs to know. Seriously, it's nobody's business. 16 states offer no fault. All 50 have some form of no fault, but a lot of states have only no fault. So anyway, depending on which list you're looking at. So, okay. So the legal implications of a fault divorce. At-fault divorce decisions can influence alimony, child support, child custody, and marital property division arrangements, with many courts ruling in favor of the not at-fault spouse. For example, the court may require that at-fault spouse pay a higher alimony and child support fees, receive fewer visitation rights, and get a smaller share of marital assets due to their wrongdoings. This is a quote from LegalZoom, guys. So basically what that's saying is that if you have a narcissistic judge and they side with the abuser, they're going to punish you, right? If they decide, okay, yeah, it needs to be, but we're going to punish you because you're the problem, because that's what abusers do. You may not get alimony. You may not get child support. You may not get 50-50 to split. There is huge implications, social, economic, mental, the whole thing. Okay. You need a divorce attorney for sure. Okay. Okay. Facts about fault-based divorce. Okay. The at-fault divorce often benefits the spouse that's not being accused of ending the divorce. Are there any disadvantages to filing an at-fault divorce? Yes, it can be lengthy and expensive, and no-fault divorces can be lengthy and expensive. So this is something I wanted to talk about as well. Divorces are not quick. They're not, and not in any state, not unless it's a real simple, there's no kids, there's very little property, you guys agree on everything, and there is no reason for the court to come back and be like, well, we need to revisit this or we need to revisit that. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's like we didn't work out, irretrievable differences, irreconcilable differences. Here's the divvying up of the estates. There's no kids involved. Boom, 60 days and you're done. Okay, at least in Arizona. Excuse me. But even in no fault cases, if you have an abuser who is determined to keep you, they will fight it. And I have seen, oh my God, so many times narcissists represent themselves in court because they're arrogant and they think they know the law. And let me tell you something, the court is like a completely different country. It speaks a different language. It has completely different customs. It has completely different etiquette. There's different ways of filing things. It doesn't make a lot of sense to the average Joe because a lot of it is in Latin. So kind of like the Catholic Church. But the point being is, that's a joke. Don't come after me. But the point being is, there's a lot of things that you need to know that the average Joe does not know about how to do filings, how to do things. Okay. And what I have seen abusers do is they will be their own attorney. And because they've watched television, they think they know exactly how courts go. No, courts are boring, dear God. And they will file motion after motion after motion after motion after motion after motion just to gum up the proceedings. And court cases I have seen go on, so maybe the initial divorce gets done, but then the custody goes on for 12 freaking years, with the abuser dragging the other person back into court every year or every 2 years or however long the judge will allow them to come back in. So it's really, really important to have a good attorney. Don't rely on representing yourself. You're not going to do well. It's hard to represent yourself. You basically will earn your law degree by the time you're done. And trust me, you don't want to do that. You need to be able to know clearly what you're asking for, clearly what you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hold on a second. Let me get back to, I'm going to have to answer questions here soon. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much that for this. So if you want to go, just look up fault versus no fault divorce. This is on LegalZoom. What are the at fault divorce states? LegalZoom. That's a good article to look up. Okay. When a judge denies the divorce, let's say it's a fault state, and they force marriage counseling, they will be required to attend counseling for a period of time, usually 6 months or more. It doesn't say the frequency. It doesn't say how many times during that 6 months. But if you are with a therapist that does not know their a-hole from a hole in the ground, you are going to be in big trouble. Because that therapist, their job is to try to unite the couple. That's what couples therapy is all about. Unless, of course, it's really obvious. And then, they're helping the one client tell the other one, no, it's over. So, but if you've got a therapist that doesn't understand narcissistic abuse and they're being charmed by the narcissist, because narcissists can be very charming when they put their mind to it and it benefits them and they're going to get something out of it, you'll have a therapist that sides with the abuser. Okay. Hold please while I go back to this. Okay. During this time, they will work with a marriage counselor to try to resolve the issues that led to the breakdown of the marriage. Right. I wish people would understand that law stuff and psychology stuff have nothing to do with each other. You cannot apply normal law logic to a personality disordered abuser. It doesn't work. It never has. It never will. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, somehow expecting a different outcome. And this is what these politicians are thinking. Oh, we're going to make it better. It's going to be great. We're going to go back to nobody being able to get a divorce and everyone's going to stay married and everyone's going to have great kids. No. Okay, hold on. I'm going to talk about why that's not going to happen. If the couple is okay, if they are unable to resolve matters, the judge may choose to extend the marriage counseling or deny the divorce altogether. In some cases, the judge may require the couple to attend counseling, even if the couple agrees to get divorced. This is often done when the judge believes the couple should attempt to reconcile their differences before divorcing. Who the bleep is the judge to make that decision? They're not in the bedroom. They're not in the house. They're not there when the abuser is screaming at them at 2 o'clock in the morning and slamming pots and pans. What the mother? Oh my God. Okay. Currently, only 2 states require marital counseling before a divorce. Alaska and New Jersey require couples to attend marital counseling before obtaining a divorce. In Alaska, couples must attain a minimum of 3 counseling sessions, while in New Jersey, the requirement is 1. Ultimately, judges have the discretion to deny a divorce and force marriage counseling if they believe it is in the best interest of the couple. Who the hell are they to decide that? Are they a therapist? Are they a psychologist? Have they studied abuse? I don't think so. Or any children involved. So this is on Petrelli. Oh, good law. PetrelliLaw.com. Can a judge force marriage counseling / just look up can a judge force marriage counseling? It'll pop up. So there is that. Okay. Let me get statistics. Okay, 25%. I think I did that. That's fine. Okay, so according to a 2004 paper by economists Betsy Stevenson and Justin Wolfers, found an 8 to 16% decrease in female suicides after states enacted no-fault divorce laws. What a surprise. They also noted roughly 30% decrease in intimate violence, partner violence, among both men and women, and a 10% drop in women being murdered by their partners after no fault went in. So no fault is safe. No fault helps both parties, which is why I'm just like, are you people crazy? Now let's talk about why this is never going to work, forcing couples to stay together. Listen, my family was bat shimomo crazy. I mean, bat shimomo crazy. Okay. My mom hated my dad with good reason. He was not a nice person. He was an abuser. He was narcissistic. He was crazy. He was personality disordered. He was, you name it. So she stayed in that marriage. And I hated every second that I had to be there because I was a kid and I was not stupid. Okay. Kids know what's going on. They know. They are little sponges. They pick up on energy. They pick up on what's being said. You may not think they understand, and they may not get it completely cognitively, but on some level, trust me, they get it. The hatred my mother had for my father was palpable. The hatred my father had for everyone was palpable. You know what I'm saying? Kids are not dumb. You're going to do damage to them if you stay. Okay. Staying in a marriage, this is what I've heard 100,000 million times. Oh, but I can't leave because kids need both their parents. No, they don't. If one of the parents is absolutely bat shimomo crazy, you do not want them around. Now, the other thing I've heard is, but they'll have them for 50% of the time. Maybe not. So what I see abusers do in divorce cases is one of 2 things. They either set about to do the parental alienation and turn the kids against the other parent, which is what a lot of the grandiose ones do. Or if they are somatic enough and more interested in their social life, their drinking life, their sex life, their everything life, they don't want to be bothered with the kids. Best case scenario is they start getting annoyed having to take care of the kids. So when you go to talk to a lawyer, this is all kind of melding in together, and I swear to God, I will get to questions. Hold on just a second. When you go to talk to a lawyer, you have to make sure of several things. Right of first refusal. In other words, if it's their turn to have the kids and they suddenly go, I'm just going to have stepmom watch them or some other family member watch them. No, right of first refusal. They have to call you and say, hey, I can't take the kids this weekend. Do you mind? Okay, so they're giving up time. So you keep track of that. So that's one thing. Number 2, you want to make sure you have final medical say. So many narcissistic parents deny medical to their kids. They don't want to give out their medical card, their insurance card. Excuse me. They don't want the kids to get medical interventions. They don't want the kids to get therapy. They don't want the kids. So you have to put into the decree. You can't just leave that to fate because listen to me now. Believe me now. Narcissists are very literal, okay? They're not flexible in their thinking at all. The rest of the world is. Narcissists are not. So if it is not in the divorce decree, they will literally come back to you and go, you know what? Getting the kids therapy isn't in the divorce decree. I don't have to do anything. I'm going to say no. And then you have to go back to court to revisit the divorce decree to put in that they get to have therapy and you get to have final say. The other thing that narcissists will do is they will make sure to get a therapist for the kids who's going to side with them. They will be charming. They will pick somebody fresh out of grad school. Nothing wrong with fresh out of grad school. At one point in time when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was fresh out of grad school. But they'll pick somebody who doesn't have the experience to know what to look for. Experience counts for a lot. I hate to say it, but it does. So you need to have medical say, final say, right of first refusal. So the ones that come to mind, because those are the ones that usually show up. Usually the divorce custody is 5225. So you have them for 5 days and then 2 days they're with them. And then, 5 days with them and two days with you. It's back and forth. Anyway, so a lot of parents are like, oh, but they're going to be with them and da, 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 da. Well, yeah, that's why they need to be in therapy, because you need to be able to undo whatever parental alienation they're going to try to do. Now, if you're constantly with your kids and working with them and working on self-esteem and working on boundaries and working on how to stay safe when they're over at the other parent's house and all of that fun stuff, and letting them know that, hey, I'm not going to put up with, whatever is going on. If the ex is saying horrible things, then, and the kids come back and start acting out, you work it out. You work it out. You talk to them. You get them into therapy. You work it out with a therapist. You get it documented. Do you see where I'm going with this? So anyway, okay. So there are things that you want to talk to your lawyer about. These are things you need to know. Now, here's the other thing. Like I said, I cannot tell you the number of times I have had abusers get bored with watching the kids and they start giving up more and more and more and more time. So you just keep track of that. And then you go back to the court after a year or so and you say, this is all the time they've given up. I want them this time. I want, this is what I want, because they clearly don't want the kids, and you can ask for more child support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I want to state clearly, this is not just a woman's issue. This is a man's issue. If a man is trapped in an abusive marriage, they're going to face the same issues. And especially if they get a judge that is absolutely batshit crazy and sides with the abuser. And it's happened in the past. The good old days are not the good old days. So before being able to do a no-fault divorce, there was high domestic violence. There was high suicide rate among women trapped in these types of marriages. Kids see this stuff. They know when you hate somebody. We're not dumb. We pick up on it. You're doing damage. Plus the fact, what message are you giving those kids? Oh, the abuse is okay. Oh, okay. Well, mom or dad stuck around and put up with it. So that must be what I need to work on or what I need to do. Kids also tend to work out their personal romantic relationships with the parent that they had the hardest time with, which is why you want them in therapy. Because what an abused kid will do, or a kid who has witnessed abuse will do with the most difficult parent, male or female, doesn't matter. What they'll do is they'll go, oh, here's this person over here that kind of sort of reminds me of mom or dad over here. I know if I can make them love me, I prove these guys wrong. Half of a doo-doo sandwich, half of a doo-doo sandwich. Oh my God, therapy for years. Seriously. It's a total doo-doo sandwich. The kids are going to be affected. They do not need to be with the abuser. If you can keep them away, keep them the freak away. Listen, if the abuser, this is the thing that kills me. I will have I will have clients that the abuser has given up time and they force the abuser to see them. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you insane? No. If your abuser gives up time with the kids, that's when you drop to your knees and go, praise God, yay. And you spend time with those kids and you work with them and you help them be a fully functioning child that goes into a fully functioning adult. So if they're giving up time, do not force them to be with them, or do not force the abuser to spend time with them. If the abuser's giving up time, there's your message. Listen to me. People make time for what's important in their lives. Okay. And if somebody's not making time for their kid, that kid's not important to them. And let me explain why. Abusers do not view other people as people. We have no more meaning than this bottle of lotion. Once this bottle of lotion is done, we're discarded. Once we don't give them what they want, we're discarded. So when the kids become too much of a problem, and let me just be clear about this happens around maybe age 3, maybe age 2, when the child starts developing their own personality and the word no. Yeah, 2-year-olds love the word no. 3-year-olds love the word no. And so when the child becomes their own independent little personality, that's when the abuser really kicks into high gear. If they can't mold them into being a mini-me, which sometimes they can't, thank God, they'll start punishing that kid for, oh, well, you're just like your father, or you're just like your mother, or da-da-da-da-da, and they start taking out all the anger towards their ex onto the kid. Not okay. If they're giving up time with the kid, that is a blessing. That is a God wink. That is a thank you, Jesus, Buddha, Boofa Baba, whatever. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you don't force them to take the kids. This is your opportunity to work with them on age-appropriate self-esteem books, age-appropriate boundary books. You tell them the truth. That's the other thing, is that, people are so worried. Oh, okay. I know there's questions. I know, but this is a huge topic. So worried about what the abuser is going to find out. So let me be very clear about notes. A good therapist takes a snapshot of the session. Just a snapshot. Literally 3 lines. Every session. 3 lines. Just what we worked on, what we discussed, 3 lines, but not in detail. Just snapshot. Okay. So when the abuser does do, and they have seen them do this, where they subpoena the records, right? Because they, oh, goody, I'm going to get the goods on it. And they get my records and they're like, what? Well, where are the rest of them? That's it. 3 lines. That's all you get, mother clucker. And they get so pissed because they've got nothing. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. So a good therapist writes their notes so that if they're called into court, there you go. There's the notes. And here's the other thing. If I ever get called into court, which they've tried a couple of times, because I used to do couples therapy until I went, you know what? You don't pay me enough for this. So when they try to call me into court, I will be like, I will only testify to what is in those notes. So you're basically wasting your money and my time, because I'm only going to, I will not form an opinion. I will not give you an opinion. I will say, I am only testifying to what's in those notes. I am not giving you an opinion. Not happening. Have a nice day. Second half of that sentence is go pound sand. So the other thing too, a good therapist can do is that they can not give into the subpoena. Now, that does not mean you ignore it. It means you contact the judge and you go, I don't think this is a good idea. This is not a good idea to have this person's medical records available to a known abuser. And you can appeal to the judge to have common sense, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But you can write them a letter and say, no, I'm not releasing the records for this reason, and then you say that, and hopefully the judge will be like, yes, you're absolutely right. So anyway, you don't ignore a subpoena ever. You always respond to it, but you can say no. You can be like, nope, not, nope. And here's the reason why. This person is a known abuser, and that's all I'm going to say. It's not safe, So anyway, there is that. But generally, when I do have to release the records, it is so generic that they get nothing out of it, and they're pissed. And I'm just sitting there going, that's what you get for being a complete amoral douchebag lawyer person who I suspect is a narcissist. So do you see where I'm going with that? So anyway, there is that. Okay. I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Oop, noise. Sorry. What's it? There it is. So just to kind of recap, no fault divorce is the best. If you can get a no fault divorce, for the love of God, get a no fault divorce. Why am I saying do it now? Well, for one thing, the longer you stay with an abuser, the more those kids are absorbing dysfunctional behavior. Don't do it. Speaking as an adult child of a fricked up family that, oh my God, if you ever read my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad, available on Amazon. There it is. You will know why I'm so passionate about this. So, the books that you want to read for this, and I forgot to pull them out because I was this morning. Um, Lori Hellis, No Nonsense Guide to Divorce. She goes through the whole divorce proceedings. She really shows you what's involved and what you need to know, because I think a lot of people have a lot of misperceptions about what a divorce is, or how the legal system works, or how completely alien this legal system is to the rest of, normal society. I'm sorry, but most lawyers are not normal. Forgive me, Brent. I love you. But anyway, so the point being is that Lori Hellis, No Nonsense Guide to Divorce. The other thing you need to get is Splitting by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy. And this lets you know exactly, word for word, what an abuser, what a personality disordered person is going to do during said divorce. They follow the same pattern, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what language they speak, what culture they come from, they all follow the same pattern. Get that book, Splitting. Randy Krieger, Bill Eddy. Excellent book for divorce. Lori Hellis, No Nonsense Guide to Divorce. Now, right now, we still have no fault divorce. There is a whole section of politicians that wish to get rid of it. I strongly recommend that if you are thinking of divorcing and you are in an abusive relationship, leave now for your own sake, for your children's sake, and do what you need to protect those kids, because that's what's important, and protect yourself, because the longer they're in an abusive relationship watching you being abused, the more that normalizes for them, and the more they are going to go in and have an abusive relationship themselves. So that is that. Okay, I think I've covered everything. I'm going to go look at questions because I've talked way too long. Okay. Does a narcissist often threat with divorce but never goes through with it because they need their target financially and the house was bought on their target's income? Yes, absolutely. Narcissists will say and do whatever they need to say and do in order to keep the target of abuse. And what I have seen with some narcissists, not grandiose narcissists, but more covert, probably a little bit of somatic in there, maybe some communal. They refuse to work. I've seen them refuse to work. I've seen them use the target of abuse as their meal ticket. So they don't work, they don't clean, they don't help with the kids. They just don't. They go do their own thing and they expect the other spouse to do everything. And that's not okay. Because again, that is normalizing an abnormal situation for those kids. That's, what are they looking at? What are they seeing? So yeah, the abuser never does anything that does not benefit them. Okay. So I would say that if they threaten divorce but never follow through with it, it's like, don't wait for them to file. Just don't wait for them to file. If they're abusive, if they're, taking advantage of you and using you financially, that would be a good idea to go bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? So, for yourself and your kids. But yeah, they do. They say and do whatever they need to. Oftentimes when I'm dealing with a target of abuse that is very codependent and the abuser is using them for stuff, they play on their sympathy, their empathy. Oh, poor thing, doesn't have a job. They need me. They need me. They need me. Codependency. Okay. And then there's the fear of, oh my gosh, I can't leave because if I leave, they'll fall apart. Good. Hate to say it, but karma's a bitch, So if you're feeling like this is a codependency issue, you want to read Facing Codependency by Pia Melody or The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker and start working on that. I'll tell you what, if somebody walked up and said, hey, I want a divorce and it was a manipulation, I would be like, okay, gloves off, game on. Hello, Brent. Seriously, I wouldn't put up with it. I would not put up with it. This is the thing. People with good self-esteem don't put up with bad behavior, period, which is why I'm saying self-esteem is the key to getting away from and staying away from abusive relationships. Seriously, getting rid of the codependency, getting your self-esteem rock solid so you know who the hell you are. So you never threaten divorce. Divorce is not a threat. Divorce is an action. It is. It's like, okay, if you're going to divorce, don't threaten it, because it's like, okay, well, what's your end game? What are you looking for? The fear, the sadness, the tears? Because remember, our tears are delicious to them. And they often say and do things to hurt us intentionally so that they get their narcissistic supply because, oh, they're evil. So there is that. Okay. What to do when the courts don't understand how abusive a mother is to the kids and still want the children around her? You have to get evidence. This is what drives me crazy. Honest to God, why they don't have in family court a psychologist or a counselor or social worker or somebody who's had training in domestic violence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to advise the judge. That to me would make the most sense. Just like I think they should have social workers on calls where the police have to deal with somebody who's schizophrenic. You know what I'm saying? Or floridly psychotic. So, which also, by the way, that show Evil got wrong, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, so because anyway. So if they don't understand, you have to gather evidence. So remember, the courts are all about, and even at that, sometimes if you're dealing with a narcissistic judge, even you could present all of these facts going, look, they're doing this and they're doing this and they've done this and here's the proof and here's the da, 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 da. You will have narcissistic judge still side with the abuser because they're narcissists themselves. Do you see where I'm going? So you got to get evidence. And this is why I'm saying you must demand counseling for the kids in your divorce decree. You must get a trauma therapist. I'm not whistling a tune here. Get a trauma therapist who knows their a-hole from a hole in the ground so that they can help those kids be able to express what's going on so that you can use that. Do you see where I'm going? You may need to ask for a forensic evaluation of the entire family. Now, I've seen that backfire. I've seen it backfire. I've seen psychologists side with the abuser when it's like the attorney and I are standing over there going, what the mother just happened? And this person was supposedly really good at what they did, and they turned it over to a grad student, which you never want. So if you're going to hire a forensic somebody to do an evaluation on the family, you want that person to do it, not a grad student. You don't want anybody else doing the evaluation. Do you see where I'm going with that? So sometimes getting an evaluation on the whole family is necessary. It can backfire. I've seen it backfire, but I've also seen it work wonders. Like there was one case where like the forensic evaluator was just damning in all the best ways to the abuser. And the judge was like, nope, you don't get custody. And I'm just like, thank you, Jesus, for that win. That was awesome. So do you see where I'm going with that? So it just depends. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. It just depends on who you get and what they know and what they're doing. And yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's see what else we got. Oh, nope. That is it. Whew. Okay, so to recap, fault divorce is bad. Contact your senators and let them know not to get rid of no fault divorce. If they get rid of no fault divorce, you're going to see the suicide rates go up. You're going to see domestic violence go up. You're going to see CPS. I was talking to a CPS worker the other day, older, my age, older. And they were like, in the bad old days, there was so much child abuse going on because the abuser didn't want the kids and they were trapped in this marriage, but they wanted to abuse and they would end up abusing the kids. Fault divorce is not good for children. It is not good for the partner being abused. It's not good for anybody. It's not good economically. It's not good in any way, shape, or form. So if you are concerned, if you are in an abusive marriage, I would strongly suggest get the ball rolling. And here's another reason why, and then I swear to God, I will shut up, at least for today. The reason is that most divorces occur 2 times a year. Right after Christmas in January, because now we're into a new tax season, right? So it occurs in January, and it also occurs after the summer holidays. So there's 2 points in time that divorces happen. Lawyers are going to be super busy after Christmas because that's when people tend to file. So strongly suggest looking into it. Now, number 2, if you're in an abusive relationship, you want to get out before no fault is done away with. Seriously. I'm not saying it's going to be done away with, but there's no reason to stay. It's not good for you. It's not good for the kids. There you go. If you are an activist like I am, you will write every single senator, whether they are on either side of the aisle, and you will explain to them why fault divorce is a bad idea and why we need no fault divorces, especially in cases of domestic violence. So that is my suggestion. That is a to do. Honestly, if we have a to do, it sometimes makes us feel better. So there that is. Okay. All right, you guys, that is it for this week. Next week, I'm trying to think of what I wanted to talk about. Vulnerability. Let's talk about being vulnerable. Let's talk about why that's important and why it's not safe to do around your abuser and why getting out is so important. So we're going to talk about being vulnerable. All right. All right, you guys, have a great week. Take good care of yourselves, and I will drink plenty of water, and I will talk to you later. Bye.